Okay, everyone, welcome and thank you. It's good to be with all of you. It really is. The quarterly meeting of the Texas State University System Board of Regents will now come to order. This meeting is authorized under the Government Code, Chapter 551, regarding the Open Meetings Act as amended by the 76th Legislature effective September the 1st, 1999. The agenda for this meeting was registered with the Secretary of State on May 16, 2021. And for the record, the date is May 20th, 2021, and the time is 12:31. A quorum of the board is present. They're here. And if I could remind everybody to please silence your phones, please. It would be helpful. That's not even in my script. I did that on my own. I was on the next page. Damn. Okay. Now I'll ask Veronica, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Regent Tinsley, please.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the other days you have given us. Please guide us in our decisions we make during our deliberations today and tomorrow. Bless those that are here today, and thank you for their directions and guidance of today's youth. Watch over us during the current pandemic and help us all to arrive home safely after our meeting here today and tomorrow. Guide, guard, and direct us in all that we do and say, and forgive us of our many sins. For it is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Al. Okay. Thank you. Okay, first of all, I'd like to open with thanking Dr. Trout and John and all the staff for that wonderful dinner we had last night. It was outstanding, and the new facility was just absolutely beautiful. Love to thank you for hosting us. We really do appreciate that. And, by the way, I hear it's your birthday. Happy birthday. And also, I would like to make another statement to Dr. White. Where are you? Dr. White, congratulations on your national championship in football. That's an amazing feat. Not everybody that's been able to experience those sort of things. So thank you very much for your leadership and with Bobby and Casey and your whole staff. Thank you very much. Okay, as we get started, regular business, I would like to remind, silence your phone. It was here, no. And whatever, you and the proper recording of this meeting of the minutes. Also a reminder to all present, and we are live streaming this meeting over the internet, so if you would please silence your phones again and again and again, okay? Okay, Brian, would you like to make a comment?
First, it's great to be back. Am I on? Yes. It's great to be back and see everyone. I told Amanda Lee she had the worst attendance of any student regent we've had in recent years. It's so good to see you again, Amanda. I want to commend the presidents for the job they have done during this pandemic. We have a population of 86,000 students, 16,000 faculty and staff. So Texas State University System is a population of approximately 102,000 people. 5% got COVID. Now that compares to 10% of all Texans, 7% of Travis County, 10% of Hayes County, and 12% of Walker County. We beat all of the averages, and it was by the design, the work, the foresight, and the cooperation of all of those on our campuses, and I just want to not let that pass without commending you for a job well done. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, our first order of business is the approval of previous meetings minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? If there are none, I move that the minutes of the quarterly Board of Regents meetings held on March 1st, 2021 be approved. Any changes? Okay, do I have a second? Second, Regent Tinsley. Okay. Any opposition? If not, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, the next order of business is approval of future board dates for 2022. This item can be found in the general motion section of your board book. Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? Any opposition? If not, the motion passes. Okay, now we will hear reports and motions from the committees. The committees met prior to the board meetings to go over proposed agenda items in detail. All items were under consideration, were voted on by the committees before coming to the full board. I will call on all the chairs of the committees to present the reports and make the motions of the full board. First will be Academic, Health, and Affairs, Regent Gary Crane.
Before discussing the agenda items from the Academic and Health Affairs Committee meeting, I'd like to invite Dr. Hayek to come forward, please, to the podium for a brief update on several system-wide academic and health affairs activities. Doc?
Great, thank you, Regent Crane. Since we haven't been together in person for a while, I did want to briefly mention just a few system-wide initiatives that we've been working on with a number of our institutions over the past year or so. But before that, I also wanted to congratulate our campus leadership and everyone on our campuses that helped produce so many successful in-person commencements over the past several weeks. I know our graduates and their families very much appreciated all the extra work and effort. So again, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. Related to commencement, I thought it might be interesting to provide just a small amount of context on our system graduates. These are not the personal stories, which are always best, but I do have a little data to demonstrate the magnitude of the system's impact on the state to share. Our 7 institutions over the past decade have awarded about 220,000 degrees and credentials. Yes, almost 250,000 degrees and credentials have been awarded by our system institutions since 2010. This is larger than the total population of Amarillo or Frisco, Texas. And just to give you a sense of that 220,000 number, it includes about 8,000 level 1 and 2 certificates, over 11,000 associate degrees, nearly 140,000 bachelor's degrees over that decade. And over half, actually 75,000, were awarded here at Texas State alone during that period of time. We awarded 60,000 bachelor degrees to low-income students, over 54,000 master's degrees over the last 10 years, half in education, and about 25,000 of those master's degrees from Lamar University alone. About 2,000 doctoral degrees and over 8,000 nursing degrees and certificates. From a workforce perspective, of the 21,000 degrees that we awarded last year, for the 2-year institutions, about 30% were in the health professions, about 40% collectively were in the science, engineering, and mechanic and repair technologies areas. We had about 7% transferred to liberal arts graduates, and criminal justice and business also had about 6% each for our 2-year institutions. For our universities, the top majors included business, marketing, finance, and accounting at about 20% of our degrees, criminal justice and education, 10% each, health professions, about 8%, and for our graduate students, about half of our degrees awarded over the last decade were in education, about 51%. And other popular majors were psychology at 8%, health professions, 8%, Business and Homeland Security and law enforcement were each about 5 or 6%, as well as public administration, engineering, computer science, also at about 4%. And of course, the presidents and chief academic officers provide regular updates to the board in their quarterly reports on the many institutional strategies that help drive these student success numbers. However, at the system level, we're also involved in some collective work related to improving student success. For example, several of our institutions, including Texas State, Sam Houston, Lamar University, and our state colleges, are involved in a number of transfer-related projects, including one called the Texas Transfer Alliance. This is a project where our 4-year and 2-year institutions meet regularly to discuss obstacles related to helping students successfully transfer and to work to eliminate as many barriers as possible to ease this transition. Our system level, another system level initiative I've talked with the board about before is one that the National Association of System Heads is focused on that helps to identify gaps in student success for various subpopulations and tries to remove, again, policy barriers and promote programs and services to help all students succeed at high levels. Now, our institutions are also working together on a number of other various projects related to addressing workforce needs in the areas of healthcare and corrections, effective teaching, online education, and as well as just really increasing the college access and success for historically underserved students. I could go on, but in the interest of time, I just wanted to reinforce that there's a lot of great work going on across academic and health affairs across our system. So thank you, Regent Crane, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions, anyone? Yes, thank you so much. Good information.
Thank you, Dr. Haig, for those updates.
Hey, your mic, I think.
It's, all right, there we go. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, the Academic Health Affairs Committee met telephonically on Monday, May 10th, 2021, and was chaired by me, with committee members Regent Edwards and Regent Harrell. In attendance also our student Regent Lee and representatives from our institution and system staff were also in attendance. All action and consent items were reviewed, discussed, and approved by the committee to be moved to the full board. I now make a motion for approval of each of the items. The board chair will then call for a second from any regent. Let's go to item number 1, Mr. Chairman. The first item for consideration is from Sam Houston State University. Distance Learning Bachelor of Arts degree in Fashion Merchandising and a Bachelor of Science degree in Fashion Merchandising. I move that Sam Houston State University, the national champs, be authorized to offer a Bachelor of Arts degree in Fashion Merchandising and the Bachelor of Science degree in Fashion Merchandising via distance learning at 50% or more, effective fall 2021. Chairman Watto.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Second?
Second.
Oh, who was that? Oh, Nikki. Way down there. Okay, Nick, thank you very much. There any discussion? Any opposition? If not, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
All right, item number 2, Mr. Chairman, is from Texas State University, and they desire to add a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in education. I move that Texas State University be authorized to add a new Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in education effective fall 2021. Mr. Chair.
Okay, you have a motion. Is there a second? Anyone like to hear? Ryan? John's going to second it. Any discussion? Any opposition? If not, all in favor?
All right, item number 3,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, is again Texas State University
Passes.
wishes to add a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in education. The motion I'll make here is that Texas State University be authorized to add a new Bachelor of Science degree with a major in mechanical engineering, effective fall 2022.
Okay, we have motion. Do we have a second? Anyone want a
Second.
second? Nikki? Okay, any discussion? Any opposition? The motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Number 4, LIT. They desire for an addition of an Associate of Applied Science degree in Analyzer Technology. Therefore, I move that Lamar Institute of Technology be authorized to offer the Associate of Applied Science degree in Analyzer Technology. It will be effective for the fall 2022. Chairman Amato.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, who did that? Veronica? Okay, any additional discussion? Any opposition? If not, the motion passes. Thank you.
All right, item number 5. Lamar State College Orange desires the addition of an Associate of Applied Science degree in Business Construction Management. I move that Lamar State College Orange be authorized to add a new Associate of Applied Science degree in Business Construction Management effective spring 2021. Chairman Amato.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to this motion? Any additional discussion? Any questions? You have a question, Don? Oh, you don't? Okay. Okay. Any opposition? If not, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 6. Lamar State College Orange desires the addition of an Associate of Applied Science degree in Business Real Estate Management. I move that Lamar State College Orange be authorized to offer a new Associate of Applied Science degree in Business Real Estate Management effective spring 2021. Chairman Amato.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Who did that? I'm sorry. David did? Okay. Any additional discussion? If not, the motion passes.
All right, the next item on our agenda is an informational only item. It's item number 7, Texas State University System Informational Certified Enrollment Report, Spring 2021. Is there any action we need to take there,
No,
Mr.
that's
Chairman?
not according to no,
Okay.
just informational.
Okay, all remaining items are included in the consent agenda unless someone wishes to remove one for further discussion. If not, then this concludes the committee report to the board. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, it's Finance. Duke, you have the floor.
Thank you, Regent Amato. The Finance and Audit Committee met telephonically on May 11th, 2021 to discuss finance and audit items included in today's agenda. I chaired the meeting with Regents Flores, Montaigne, Scott, Tinsley, and Harrell participated. The Finance and Audit Committee considered all items, and the committee agreed to move the agenda item to today's meeting for the board's consideration. Before we begin, I would like to ask Daniel to provide a brief update. Daniel? I want to say, just having chaired this the first time, I'm extremely pleased with who we have leading these operations. So they do a fantastic job, and Regent Tinsley, his leadership and beyond.
Of course, yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. So to follow on John's lead, I'd like to take a few minutes to update the board on our recent bond pricing and then our property renewal that the board approved at the last meeting. So in January, we priced our Series 2021 bond issuance. It was $94 million, in which we essentially defeased the commercial paper that was outstanding on 4 Sam Houston projects. You can see that the average interest rate over the life of that 30-year debt is 2.1%. We also had a small component for refunding. We refunded $32 million of existing housing debt at Sam Houston and Texas State. We realized an interest rate of 2.5%, And on that, we have an estimated interest savings of $6 million, which we use to shorten the term by 2 3/4 years.
Wow.
Here's a list of the new projects. As you can see, it's the 4 projects at Sam Houston State. And then to conclude, you can see right now we stand with about $1 billion of debt for the entire system. Our annual debt service is $117 million, with $34 million of it paid from general revenue. And unless there's questions on that, I'll move on to the property program. Kind of less successful news on the property program, but we did get it done. Insured value is slightly up. We're at $4.4 billion. The average rate we're paying is 15 cents, which is up by 16%. Those together shows that we have a 17% increase in the premium. We're now at $6.7 million. We were able to hold deductibles unchanged. And as Chairman Amato will know well, with a loss history of 270% for this last year and a 6-year average of 140%, it's not unexpected that our property insurance premium would have a significant increase. And here's the long-term trend on our program. You can see on average, we're right at around 14 cents collectively, but since we left the State Office of Risk Management, our average rate is at 11.5 cents. And as I said earlier, we're at 15 cents right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be working over the next few months with our insurance broker to look for options to potentially take some more risk on if there's an appropriate reward for it. So, and with that, I yield to questions.
Our cybersecurity, how are we handling that?
So we do place cybersecurity insurance, and the limits right now don't come to mind. So
I've been told from our London people, and you know some of them, that you're going to be expecting a big rate increase on cybersecurity insurance.
that is what we hear.
It's coming. It's coming. I locked mine in for my company, fortunately, for 18 months, 6 months ago, and it's going to be really expensive. So just get prepared for it in your budgets. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Daniel, one more question.
Yes, sir.
I see you did that, I heard you talk about the refunding. Do you see any further refunding opportunities on the horizon on our bonds? Because we're doing some of those in our
Yes.
district.
We have, so for state issuers like us, we can only advance refund maturities that are callable, and we have a series that's going to come up that will be callable in 2024, and the prediction right now is that when we get ready to do that issuance, that we'll find savings there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel. The next item on the agenda is an informational item, which is the status of the implementation of audit recommendations. Any questions? The remaining item is included in the consent agenda. It's a quasi-endowment report. Any questions on that one? Okay, before we conclude, I would like to invite Carol Fox to the podium for an administrative update.
Dr. Trump and I would like to take a few minutes to recognize the Director of Internal Audit for this campus, Steve McGee. Steve, can you come up? Some of you know him. Steve is auditing business. Steve and I met in 1982 when we both worked for the state auditor's office. I had the pleasure of introducing him to his wife of 34 years. He served as the audit director at Stephen F. Austin and also is an audit manager assigned to the Seton family of hospitals. Steve is a certified public accountant, a certified internal auditor, and a certified fraud examiner. He has a bunch more certifications that I won't list. He has been and continues to be a tremendous asset to the university and to the system. Steve, thank you so much for your service.
And he's also a bobcat. You know, when you say the word internal audit, to most people, it strikes dread in their hearts. But that's never been the case with Steve. And it really has been my pleasure to work with you during the last 10 years. He is a consummate professional. He's always fair, he's measured, and he's extremely knowledgeable about what it is we do at Texas State University. And it goes beyond that, because he's also helped us enormously to mitigate risks. And that's an important component, I think, of an auditor working at a university. He's built strong two-way communication with our faculty and staff. People feel free to share their concerns with him, and because he always addresses things in a positive and proactive way, which doesn't mean that he overlooks anything, because he doesn't. But I think, Steve, you've made Texas State a better place, and I hope that you go forward to the next chapter of your life and just reflect back on all that you did for Texas State University.
I just want to thank Carol and Dr. Trouth and the administration. I've had a great time here for the last 2 years, and I'll miss them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Carol. This concludes the Finance and Audit Committee's report. With that, I'll turn it back to Chairman Amato.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next on the agenda is Planning and Construction, Regent Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning and Construction Committee met on May the 11th, 2021 to discuss the planning and construction agenda. I chaired the meeting and Regents Austin, Montaigne, Flores, and Harrell participated. The committee considered all items and agreed to move each item to today's meeting for the board's consideration. The first item for consideration is Texas State University Capital Improvement Program. Chairman Amato, I move that the capital improvements program for fiscal years 2022 through 2026 be adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a second? Don, I'm sorry, Don, meet you over there. Okay, do we have any additional discussion or questions? Any opposition? If not, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item on the agenda is an information item, and it's the quarterly planning and construction report, and it's found in the board book. There is no vote necessary on the informational items. The remaining item is included in the consent agenda, and it's additions to the current 2021 through 2026 capital improvement program. And there's no vote necessarily on that as well until the consent agenda. This concludes the Planning and Construction Committee report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You had it easy today, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next is Rules and Regulation, Regent Flores.
Thank you, Chairman. The Rules and Regulations Committee met by telephone on Wednesday, May 12, 2021, and discussed the items on the Rules and Regulations agenda. I chaired the meeting, which was also attended by committee members Regent Edwards and Regent Tinsley, the Chancellor and representatives of the System Administration Office and of the component institutions were also present. The meeting was duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Law. The committee voted unanimously to recommend that all agenda items be placed on the consent agenda, unless any regent would like to move one of these rules to the meeting agenda. The committee recommends that they be part of the consent agenda. Hearing no questions, Mr. Chairman, this concludes the Rules and Regulations Committee report.
Thank you very much. Excellent report. Okay, next is Government Relations Committee, Regent Nikki Harley.
Thank you, Chairman Amato. I'd like to invite Sean Cunningham to provide the report on government relations.
Good afternoon, Chancellor, Regents, Presidents. It's wonderful to see everyone here today. It's been way too long. As you all are keenly aware, we are less than 2 weeks from the end of the 87th legislative session. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never had a session like this before. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's presented unique challenges. However, it has also presented unique opportunities. I'm happy to report that thanks to Chancellor McCall and our team, we have seized on these unique opportunities, and I look forward to sharing some of our legislative accomplishments with you today. With respect to the budget, when I addressed this board at this time of session 2 years ago, we were only 4 days away from sine die, so it was more concrete. Unfortunately, conferees are making final decisions at this point, and it would be too early for us to report on how TSUS fared. It is my sincere hope that we'll be able to report to the board, presidents, and staff in the very near future the full extent of our funding and system priorities. On the policy front, we expected a lighter policy session due to several factors. Last session was policy heavy. COVID-19 limited committee work and decreased the number of bills filed. And there's a new speaker and chairman of higher education. Despite these challenges, TSUS and higher ed globally will likely pass and have signed into law several important pieces of legislation. In addition, I'm happy to say that several bills detrimental to our system are likely not to pass. One of the first higher education bills that was passed this session was House Bill 1325 by Representative Coleman and Sam Houston alum Boris Miles. And this bill allows the Sam Houston State Medical School to participate in the JAMP program. The JAMP program creates a pipeline from undergrad to medical school and caters to students from socioeconomic means and helps these students receive additional support through scholarship and mentorship if accepted into Texas Medical School. This is effective immediately. It was just recently signed. There's several bills. I won't read them all to you. I believe that you have a handout that shows many of these things, so I'll just do a very top level description. House Bill 1027, this bill is the comprehensive textbook bill. It's had several iterations throughout this session. It was initially problematic and would have all but eliminated our institution's limited access programs and provided significant administrative hurdles. After working with the respective bill authors, the bill now provides for greater transparency from textbook publishers and mostly integrates best practices already occurring at our institutions. Current textbook practices will not be affected at our institutions. Several folks in this room will be happy to hear that Senator Buckingham has a bill to eliminate many of the duplicitous and burdensome reporting requirements for higher education institutions. In part, the bill authorizes the coordinating board to eliminate by rule any reporting requirement under the coordinating board of which the coordinating board decides that they have alternative means of collecting the data. There was a comprehensive regional university bill that was filed by Senator Creighton, Chairman Creighton. If it passes, we don't know if it'll be funded. This bill would allow for both financial support and incentives for comprehensive regional universities. These universities include Sul Ross State University, Lamar University, and Sam Houston State University. There are going to be, Senate Bill 1525 is referred to as the GURI bill. That's the Governor's University Research Initiative. And the bill loosens several of the eligibility requirements to participate in the Governor's University Research Initiative. This will allow universities like Texas State greater recruitment flexibility and allow them to better compete for these funds. Senator West had a bill, 1531, that would create parity by setting a similar cap at community colleges that already exists for general academic institutions for excess credit hours. Sam Houston State would have been impacted by this particular piece of legislation where Senator Creighton filed a bill that would eliminate, the bill limits the participation by private out-of-state medical schools like the Burrell College of Medicine by giving the coordinating board limited regulatory authority over these schools. So this will aid Sam Houston's DO school, who have been adversely affected by some of these schools regarding the availability of in-state clinical and clerkship spots. Bills that did not pass. Senate Bill 522 by Senator Gutierrez and House Bill 2336 by Representative Morales, commonly referred to as the Sol Ross Transfer Bill. SB 522 never received a hearing in the Senate, and 2336 never received a hearing in the House. Lastly, I can't complete my remarks without giving some additional context to the TRB bill that passed the House last week. It was a long and arduous process getting TRBs to finally pass the House, but the final product was a good one. We were able to successfully add all of our institutions' projects at their requested dollar amounts. As I've discussed with many of you in this room, we are unlikely to see a TRB bill pass the session. However, TRBs are on the governor's radar, and we hope to see them on the call if and when the legislature returns for a special redistricting session later in the fall. With respect to our federal update, I'll let you read that at your leisure. It's kind of dense, but the Normandy group did a fantastic job in putting together a pretty comprehensive report of what's going on, particularly with the pandemic funding that has obviously been very helpful to our institutions and to our students. I want to conclude my remarks by congratulating several members of the legislature who were especially helpful to our system this session. First, on behalf of the system, I want to thank Speaker Dave Phelan on an incredible session and with unprecedented challenges. I also want to thank Chairman Will Metcalf, who has become a tireless advocate, not just for his alma mater, Sam Houston, but the entire TSUS system. Lastly, thank you to Chairman Creighton and Murphy, who were incredibly helpful in their respective roles as higher education chairman. They worked great together to help pass critical pieces of legislation and, more importantly, limit legislation that would be detrimental to our system. With that, I'm happy to answer questions of any of you.
Okay, are there any questions anyone would like to ask? He had a pretty lengthy agenda there. Brian, would you like to make a comment?
I noticed that your coworker Pierce B. Mitchell is not here today. Is there a good reason?
Some might consider it a good reason. I know I do. Last night, his wife had to go to the hospital because they were ready to have the baby. So Pierce is not with us today. They had a healthy baby girl. I believe her name is Poppy.
Hey, that's great.
So yeah, he's proud. He's been a proud father, but he'll be a proud father for the second time.
That's good news. Good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicki?
Sean, you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Good
sir.
job. That session's about over with now, isn't it? 2 weeks?
May 31st, yeah.
Chairman, I just wanted to thank Sean, especially he went with me to the Capitol one day and introduced me to a lot of folks there, and I even introduced him to some, so it was fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being there. That's important, very important. Okay, our next item is our contracts. The next order of business is the approval of contracts. All of the items in contract section have been moved to the consent agenda. Are there any questions from the board? Vice Chancellor Herrera is available should you have any. Any questions, anyone? I guess not. Okay, then we will move on to personnel. The first item is the delegation of authority for the chair of the Board of Regents to determine the compensation of the chancellor during fiscal year 2022 and make necessary updates to the existing employment and deferred compensation contracts. Do I have a second on this?
Second.
Second, Regent Scott. Any discussion? Any opposition? Thank you. The motion carries. Appreciate that. Okay. The second item is the delegation of authority to determine fiscal year 2022 compensation for the Chief Audit Executive to the Chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. Is there a second to this motion? Second, Regent Tinsley. Any discussion? Any opposition? If not, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, the remaining items in personnel section can be found on the consent agenda. 8 is miscellaneous. The next order of business is the miscellaneous section. The first item is from Sul Ross State University to be authorized to accept the gift of real property from the estate of Billy Lee Turner, located at 504 North Bird Street in the city of Alpine, Brewster County, Texas. President Gallego, would you like to make some comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property is a gift under the last will and testament of Dr. Billy Lee Turner. It's to benefit the Babe and Julia Turner Research Fund Herbarium at Sul Ross. Sul Ross has one of the preeminent herbariums in the state, and an herbarium doesn't grow herbs, but it preserves herbs, so that you can go there and see any kind of herb that is grown anywhere in Texas. I think only the University of Texas at Austin has a larger herbarium than does Sul Ross. And so the property, which is located literally across the street from campus, is being donated to Sul Ross as a specific gift under Dr. Turner's will. It's currently showing an appraised value of $141,256, and it is to benefit that herbarium fund at Sul Ross.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, well, okay, Nikki. Okay, are there any additional discussion or questions for Dr. Gallego? Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, the second item is from Texas State University for authorization to name a street on the Round Rock campus, Adolfo Barrera Drive. Dr. Trout, would you please like to make a comment?
And with your permission, I'd like to just talk about all 4 of these motions because they're interrelated.
Okay.
Last summer, I appointed a task force to provide a recommendation regarding renaming 2 residence halls on the San Marcos campus that were named for rivers, and to provide recommendations for the naming of 2 unnamed streets on the Round Rock campus. Asking the task force to provide input so that we could recognize the importance of Latinx and Black members of our university community. They worked diligently for 7 months, got 40 nominations, did very much research so that we would have a very clear picture of the persons whose names we were putting on these 2 buildings and streets, and they came forward with these recommendations that then went through a second approval process, finally came to the President's Cabinet, and we're bringing them to you today. Adolfo Barrera was a staff member at Texas State University, and he was very instrumental in developing multicultural programming at the university. Elvin Holt was a Black faculty member, tenured full professor in the Department of English, one of the first tenured full professors at Texas State who was Black. Angelina Hall is on the San Marcos campus. Again, it's Angelina. It's named for a river, and we'd like to rename that First Five Freedom Hall in honor of the 5 women, black women, who integrated Texas State. They were the first black people to come to Texas State in 1963. And then finally, St. Gabriel Hall, again named for a river, to be renamed Maria Elena Zamora O'Shea Hall. She matriculated in 1906, and she was the first Hispanic student at the university.
Thank you very much. Okay, these need to be separate motions, don't they?
They do, you just don't have to call them anymore. Yes, so just
Okay.
read it. for
Okay.
a second.
Okay, for the first motion for Adolfo Barrera, do I have a second? Don, yeah, Texas State guy. Any additional discussion? Any opposition? If not, the motion carries. Okay, for the naming of Elvin Holt Drive to the Round Rock campus, is there a second for that? Okay, Gary. Any additional discussion? Any opposition? If not, the motion carries. The next item for Texas State is the approval to rename Angelina Hall on San Marcos campus to the First Five Freedom Hall. Do we have a second for that? Nikki? Okay. Do we have any additional discussion or questions? Any opposition? If not, the motion carries. Renaming St. Gabriel Hall to Maria Elena Zamora O'Shea Hall. That's a long name, O'Shea Hall. Okay. Do we have a second for that? Okay, Don, you were first. Okay. Any additional discussion? Any opposition? Not, the motion carries. Thank you very much. And the naming of the newly constructed plaza in honor of Clarence Gatemouth Brown. Do we have a second for that?
That one, we need to
Huh?
have that Dr. Johnson's item.
Oh, Dr. Johnson's item?
Have him remark on it. It's a Lamar State College Orange item.
Oh, it's Lamar. Okay, I'm sorry. Darn, my second mistake today. Terrible. Okay, Dr. Johnson, would you like to make some comments to this motion?
Clarence Gatemouth Brown is one of Orange's most famous sons. He's a World War II veteran. He's renowned across the world for his particularly eclectic music of mixing Texas blues, Cajun, Zydeco, country, rock, and more. Mr. Brown was born into a family of musicians with a long history of performances in the Orange community. Gatemouth Brown evokes Orange in his large portfolio of music chronicling the influence of our town and its life. Gatemouth Brown represents a storied and rich fabric of contributions of African American community to the tapestry of Orange's history. The newly constructed plaza at the center of Lamar State College Orange campus will be the focal point of gathering not just for the Gator family, but the entire community, Orange community. A place where much music and merriment shall be shared. Naming this central point of our campus and community after Gatemouth Brown would formalize a permanent, dedicated space to honor one of Orange's most heralded citizens and sons. Therefore, Lamar State College Orange requests the authorization of this newly constructed open-air plaza at the center of campus to be named the Clarence Gatemouth Brown Plaza, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, do I have a second to this motion? Anyone?
Second.
Who? Okay,
I've
David?
sat in his booth at the Blues,
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
House of Blues.
Oh,
I've
you
sat-
did the
I
House of
always
Blues?
ask for his booth when I eat at the House of Blues in New Orleans.
Oh, really? That's cool. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there any other discussion? Any opposition? Thank you very much. The motion passes. Okay, the board now will recess an executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Acts, Section 551.071 through 551.074 of the Government Code. No votes will be taken in executive session, and it is 1:20 degrees. Yeah, let's do a 5-minute break before we go into session, please. Okay, everybody, welcome back. We will now reconvene in an open session. The time is 2:46. For the record, in compliance with the Texas Opening Meetings Act, and no votes were taken, no decisions reached in executive session. And I guess the next order is the evening, tell about the evening reception? Okay, the evening reception and dinner begins at 6 p.m. Please plan to meet at 5:30 in the hotel lobby for transportation to the event. Now we're going to recess the open session. If there are no further business and without any objections, we will stand in recess for the day and reconvene in open session tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and the time is 2:47.